Uninang, my name is Alexander Shin, and it's the second season of In Taiwan We Speak. And today, in Taiwan we speak Bunun, the language of the Bunun people and one of Taiwan's largest indigenous people groups. I am joined today by Biung Ismahasan, contemporary indigenous arts curator, assistant researcher, and assistant professor of curatorial practices at National Chinan University in Nantao. Biung, thank you for coming.
Yes, Oninang, thank you for inviting me.
We know you're coming from Namasia, one of 7 indigenous Bunun areas. Could you please share with us, with our listeners, about your background?
Okay, my background is my father is belong to the Bunun nation. Why I would like to use the nation, the Red tribe in Taiwan, we have the 16 nations, which mean each nation, they belong to themselves, their own community, and they govern by themselves. And my father is from the Bunun nation in Namasia. In Namasia, we have 3 communities. The first is Nansalu, and second is Maya, and the final one is Takanua, where I was born there from Takanua community. And in Takanua community, my grandmothers belong to Ganaganavu nation. And
so it's a different nation.
It's different nation, but Ganaganavu nation lived and stayed and worked together with the Bunun nation for a few decades in Takanua community. And my mother comes from Ataya nation in Nangao, in the northern part of Taiwan. Yes.
And well, Namasia is one of 7 indigenous Bunun areas located among the mountains of central Taiwan. I've never been there, sadly. And to our listeners who also have never been there, how would you describe Namasia and your experience growing up there?
Namasia district belongs to the Kaohsiung city. And Namasia district is located in the mountains region in the northeastern part of Kaohsiung city, with an average altitude of 1,152 meters. And the entire area is cut through by Nanzixianxi River. Sanmin Township is the previous name. Sanminxiang is the previous name of the Namasia.
It's a Chinese language name.
It's a Chinese language name.
But Namasia is
our Bunun name. It's our Bunun name. In addition to this rich and natural ecology, the district has the diverse ethnic composition, the mainly consisting of the Bunun communities, followed by the Ganaganavu nation, as well as Zhou nation and Lukai nation, Ataya, and a few Taiwan immigrant community. And Namasia is the Andes valleys and the Bluesin Creek and legendary mountains and rivers, the Yushan Mountain, the Jade Mountain, the holy mountain of the Bunun nation.
Which is also the tallest mountain of Taiwan.
Yes. And between motion and stillness flowed the passage of the time. We also have the severe typhoon in 2009, 8th of August, Morakot typhoon. As a severe typhoon is demolished majority of indigenous community, not only in Namasia community, but also in the southern community, and also the eastern part of Taiwan in Taidong community. And the elder Western always talk to the young generation that do not build the houses in the water route, because the water will refine their route after the disasters. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Namasia who discovered the giant eel in the river. Body of the giant eel blocked the entire stream. And the worried boy hurried back to the village to report the incident. However, he was so frightened that he soon fell ill and passed away. And later, the villagers reached an agreement with the wild boar.
Wild boar.
Wild pig. The boar would fight the giant eel and drive it away. Consequently, the village began to live peacefully without suffering from floods. In memory of the brave boy who died young, the river was also named Namasia. And also our villagers say Namasia Kasu, which means you will be fine for tomorrow. You will be fine tomorrow. Namasia, Namasia. Namasia gasu. Gasu, which means you, and you will be fine tomorrow. Just a blessing word for our visitors, for our relative, and our people.
So when you were born, officially the district was not called Namasia yet,
No,
right?
they called Sanmingxiang.
Sanmingxiang, with the Chinese name.
With the Chinese.
When did Namasia reclaim its name?
I think there's few decades, 1 or 2 decades.
Must be very recent that Taiwan actually allowed for the district to have its indigenous name.
Yes.
So you once mentioned that the history of natural disasters in Namasia informed some of your work as an art curator. What role does your community's trauma play in the way you perceive art?
As an indigenous curators, we are facing a lot of experience how to communicate with the natural disaster and also the trauma. I would like to use an example in the very severe typhoon called Morakot typhoon in 2009, and it was the Father Days on 8th of August. There were the heavy rain across 8 days in the southern Taiwan, and one of the community called Nansalu community was demolished by the Morakot typhoon, and there are 26 our community villages died by this typhoon.
Entirely demolished?
Not entirely, just a half of the community was demolished. And also my previous elementary school in Nansalu community. And I collaborate with the reclined Lukai Nation artist called Alain Luluan in 2016, and Alain Luluan was invited by the Kaohsiung Museum of Fine Art. Kaohsiung Museum of Fine Arts had collaborated with me, and because they want to organize a cultural event to promote the indigenous art and how artists can bring their ideology about the environmental care and their perspective about the natural disaster. And I organized the cultural event and invite different generation from our community. And this is the talk in my guest house in the Kanua community. And I know I collaborate with Alain for almost 8 to 9 years. And her community is from old Guchabuan community. And we facing the trauma. First of all is that our landscape was demolished by this. And our route to the city was also broken down by this disaster. And as an art curator, I am to promote artists' idea about how to present their thought and to remind the visitor or audience when they look at their physical world of the soft sculpture.
Oh, soft sculpture.
Yes.
What does that mean, soft sculpture?
The soft sculpture, which means that the artist used the soft material and it's very easy to move to another spaces.
Is that what Alain Luluang
Yes,
does?
Alain Luluang used to rebuild their sculpture in different spaces. And I'm the curator, and I collaborate with Alain. And Alain used her physical work called the land care. And this sculpture signified the trauma of the natural disasters and the persecution of the living environment that indigenous people have faced until now. And the stricken region of Namasia, as I mentioned that I was born there, was destroyed by this Typhoon Morakot with an extreme amount of rain, has the mood flood and severe flooding throughout the southern Taiwan in my community and also Alain community. And I would like to use that as a curator and how myself to learn from the elders artists, as I mentioned, that because we live in the different generation. I'm the young generation, Alain is as elder generation. And with reference to these disasters, Alain Luluan, she understood how this soft sculpture installation displayed in the wall of the space of the museum. Is which means the installation is not hanging on the wall. So I mentioned as a wall can draw viewers' attention to the importance of protecting our environment and living space. And installation called land trauma could be defined as an environmental artwork that use three-dimensional work with the aim of engulfing and activating the viewer through the stimulation of the multiple senses and through an invocation of the natural disasters struggle.
Land trauma. Is it a reference to deadly landslides that happen in the mountainous regions of southern Taiwan, especially where Alang is coming from?
Yes, Alandis came from the old Guchapuan, and after the Morakot typhoon, I think within the 1 decade, Alan spent almost 1 decade, 10 years, to return the walk back to the old Guchapuan. If you went back to the Guchapuan by walk, you probably need to spend a few days. The Morakot typhoon demolished the route of returning back to the old Guchapuan. And so that's why Ellen wants to recall her memory when she was a child. She wants to remember her view about the route of the returning back to their home. That's why she gave the name of the land trauma, and she used the soft material to create the shape of the stone, big stone, and using the softness, using the soft material. And soft material, which means it resemble the waters. And Ellen sit in front of the installation and then share her direct feeling and thought about the natural trauma. She said that her elders talked to her, and the waters will be refined their original route after the disaster. That's what mean that nowadays the people need to take care, and we need to pay more attention to our environment.
It's a very beautiful reference and a very thought-provoking artwork. I visited the National Jinan University back in May, and I was lucky enough to witness one of Alang's artworks.
Yes.
It's indeed made of metal, but it's almost porous. You can see through it, but when you're outside of it, it does look like a huge rock. And it was very interesting to listen how the artist actually put the history of her community into this. And I have a question. After 10 years, you're saying, did she manage to bring these works back to her community and have a exhibition there or something like that?
That is a very interesting question. I have a lot of conversation with Ellen because this installation linked trauma. We have collaborated to curate this very meaningful installation in different spaces, more than 7 spaces. The county of Wutai talked to Ellen that, would you like to display your installation in our cultural museum? You know, sometimes when you are the local people, it's very hard to use your own word or use your whole body to contribute to curate your installation in your home time, because we always asking us, am I prepared? Am I preparing to display, or am I ready to do that?
But it's interesting. I remember your student Lily.
Yeah, Lily.
I asked her, because I was curious if that was what I saw, indeed was the whole artwork, or was there more? And Lily said, no, probably somewhere in Alang's workshop there's even more of this.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to see more of them on display somewhere. And now I would like to talk about your language. What has your relationship with your ancestral language, Bunun, been throughout your life?
I have the beautiful memory to living with my fathers and also my grandmothers from Ganagana Nation. And at that period, I was curious about why my grandmother always said that you need to study hard, and you need to leave our community to the city to nurture yourself and to promote your education, study hard. And so that in my childhood, they don't speak indigenous language. They don't speak the Bunun and the Ganaganabu languages to me. And also my parents, they were elementary school. They teach Chinese and they teach different subjects. I'm the student of my parents. So that So that's why when I left my community to the city to study by ourselves and with my brother and sisters, we received the message about you need to study hard and you need to compete with the other people, the city people, and therefore you will get a good career and the futures, something like that. It's too bad that I don't have much experience speaking the Bunun language. But from now on, when I return back to my community, after my bachelor degree, I returned back to my community to run my guest house with my father. So I learned my own languages all the time, and with my villagers and also relatives. I leave community again and flew to the UK, United Kingdom, to study my master and PhD. And after that, I returned back to my home, and I'm working as the teachers in the university. And also there are not much time to practice my Bunun languages. But my cousin is the Bunun languages tutors, so supervisors, and Biung Ismahasan, and she's already encouraged me to communicate with her all the time. So I spend a lot of efforts to learn my own languages.
Your family, your parents, basically as part of inspiring you to have better life in the city, they didn't teach you neither Bunun nor Kanakanavu, right?
Yes, they didn't teach me at that period, at that generation.
But now, are they willing to speak to you in those languages?
But because my father was died, and my grandma was died also,
All right.
they both passed away. And my mother speak Ataya nation.
Does she also? You have so many languages in your family.
So I learned the Bunun languages with my relatives, my cousin, and my tribal villagers. The Ganaganavu nation, we live in the same community, and the majority of the Ganaganavu people can speak Bunun languages in my own community, because Ganaganavu nation was defined as the 16th or 15th nation of the Taiwan indigenous people. And those are both 15 and 16. The 15 is the Lalua. Lalua nation is located in the Maya community.
They're very close, right?
Then we live in the same space, in the same community. So both of them can speak both languages. And according to the Council of Indigenous People, the languages promotion policy, they support a lot of funding and subsidized to cultivate and the young kid and the kindergarten student, kindergarten boy or girl, to learn their local languages.
I see. That's very interesting. And now in Namasia, when you go back there, do you hear Bunun or Kanakanavu or maybe Lalua spoken by people there?
Yes. And normally the three nation people, I think they have the official language, as I can say that. They speak Bunun first.
All right.
But not many people to speak Kanakanavu Lalua nation. But until now, they do have the program to teach them to speak Kanakanavu and also Lalua nation.
Those are very small nations, right? Especially comparing to Bunun.
Yes, for example, the Kanakanavu nation is less than 500 people. I think it's around 450, I think.
I see. Well, I think that's the end of our first episode. With that, we've run towards the end of our airtime for today. But of course, we do not end our conversation with Biung here. Join us next week as we continue our conversation about Bunun and its speaking community, as well as art. Thank you, Biung, and thank you everyone for tuning in. My name is Oleg, and see you next week.